Okay, want to welcome everybody to the June 8th Communications Committee meeting. And I'm going to call this meeting to order. Item number 2, roll call. Is just you, Larissa, or the
Tracy is on reduced schedule, so she's not working these evenings.
Okay.
So we'll start. Yep, we'll go alphabetically. Councilor Clucci.
Here.
Hold on, everybody. I've got feedback. Just 1 second. Hold on.
You mean sound feedback?
Well, so when I start the Zoom meeting, if I forget to turn it off on my screen, I've got the Zoom meeting with like this 30-second lag happening in the background. That's unpleasant for everyone. Okay, so Councilor Clucci.
Here.
Councilor Gleisteen.
Here.
Councilor Johnson.
I be here. Item number 3, approval of the May 11th, 2020 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Call the roll.
Yep, Councilor Clucci.
Yes.
Councilor Gleisteen.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes. Item number 4, a general discussion on budget communication. What does that mean? Who knows? Clarifying point, we have another roundtable discussion this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Hope you can both make it. Did that article go in the leader this past Friday? I didn't.
It did.
Just didn't happen to see it.
I think it was not this past Friday. Was it the Friday prior?
Not sure.
I think it should have been this Friday. Yes, it was an article about how to vote early. And then it was also had a paragraph about the roundtable discussion.
Okay, great.
I believe the school department advertised that meeting for us today as well.
Good. Yeah, April said they were going to try to do their best to promote it. So we should have a larger turnout. What else can we do to communicate the budget? You figure how many, we've got one more finance meeting? Councilor Gleisteen, is it one more?
So the finance committee meeting is now an all-town workshop tomorrow. I think there's one more finance, but not before the 10th. So that's the all-town council workshop is tomorrow, the 9th, and then the roundtable would be the 10th.
Right.
And then we may have one more meeting. I don't know that it's actually been scheduled next Tuesday.
Oh, because the discussion of the community services budget and the executive budget were bumped.
Yeah.
Right, and then maybe to wrap up recommendations or something.
Right.
Okay. Now I know Councilor Hamill is bringing forward, I think, with some assistance from Councilor Gleisteen, a Councilor Corner for this next edition. I was asked to ask you, what's the deadline on that, Larissa? Because I'm assuming it's the 15th?
Yep, so June 15th is a what? That must be a Monday?
That's a Monday.
So I would really like to have it by this Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let him know on that. So from a publishing perspective or anything, I don't know what else we can do between now and the second reading of the budget, unless you guys have some ideas for communicating.
Let's see. I'm looking at the homepage.
So as part of this conversation, just wanted to let you know, also you've got videos being released on Facebook starting this week. All of those budget glossary videos and the department head videos are going to be being released kind of in a slow stream now through the end of June. So those will be also keeping budget in people's front of mind.
Right. So what do you release, like one a day or groupings a day, or how are those released?
It won't be more than one a day, I don't believe. So I've put our younger staff who are far more social media in tune with how to kind of space things out in charge of that and let them know that I would like them all released by the end of the month. So they're going to be putting them out as 2 different series. So there will be the budget glossary series of videos and then the department head budget discussion series. And so those will be being put out to the public. And then they also, though, as a clump, are being put onto SCTV. So those will be being viewed on cable here starting very soon as well.
So I'm
Okay,
looking at the homepage. There is an item on the calendar. There is something in the news feed, but it doesn't include a date at all. And I don't know if the Zoom,
you're talking on the
Up to
homepage,
date.
homepage,
Yeah.
town calendar?
Well, on the calendar, it's on the calendar, but
Yep.
there's also the news feed. There's a mention of it, but there's no date or time with the mention.
Are you talking about the roundtable this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, what else can we do? So I was checking the homepage. And there is a news feed item that says roundtable discussion. Join the town to share your thoughts, but it doesn't give a date or a time.
If you click on it, Betsy, does it expand?
Nope. I mean, it expands, but there's nothing to see.
You know what,
Says
though, I
posted
believe this
May
might have been the
26th.
prior one. This
It
was
says-
posted on May 27th.
It's posted on May 26th, updated on May 27th. So let me see what there is at the budget portal.
Yeah, it does have the Zoom link, right, but not a date. Is that what you're saying? There's no date on it?
There's no date time on the news feed, and I'm not sure, if that's the right Zoom link, or,
The Zoom link brings up, uh-oh, you seem to have lost your way.
yeah, so that seems. And then I'm looking on the budget calendar that's on there, but I haven't checked all the various Zoom links, and I'm hoping, we're gonna have a quick discussion about the YouTube and the SCTV, because we did get some more information about that to share, and that those archives can be removed from the website immediately following the meeting. So,
Oh, we're talking YouTube again? Well.
yeah, I think that was the plan, to discuss it today, right?
Okay. I've reached out to other counselors and the BOE, and they would not like this on YouTube. So I'm gonna honor that. We have.
Okay, so I would like my say, please.
Yeah.
So I don't think people understand exactly what I'm asking for. So when you come to the round table meetings, you don't have to sit at the table. You can actually sit in the room. I was actually surprised how many people did that. And also when you join by Zoom, you're not required to say anything at all, or raise your hand or speak.
Correct.
When you come in person, you're not required to sit at the table or speak or raise your hand or anything like that. So
Correct.
your initial problem was with the recording and people not wanting to have a recording out there of them. So I followed up to find out, can we get rid of the recording easily? And the answer to that is yes, the recording can go away. So I'm not sure that we were addressing people's problems. I don't know that it's YouTube per se, but I don't care if it goes on YouTube or not. But my understanding is to get it to 1302, that's how you has to go through YouTube first. And so 1302 was my focus, which is where people who are not tech savvy could at least listen. And then all of it would be removed from the archives.
Yep.
So
I think your point is understood. But I think the general sentiment is that this is a roundtable discussion and you need to be present. Whether you discuss or not is your option, but you need to at least engage in the discussion. And you don't do that on channel 1302. Hold on a second though. We're only using Zoom because we can't get together in person. That's the
right,
only
but we
reason why
wouldn't
we're
make
using Zoom.
we wouldn't make people talk or sit at the table either.
Oh, no,
We were
but when
coming in the room.
But when we had the WEX roundtable, people had to get in their vehicle and drive to the building. They didn't have to participate, but they had to at least engage. So we're just honoring that, that's all. So not gonna do a YouTube.
Well,
I'm sorry
so
if you're upset
I guess
about
it
it, but
depends on your definition of engage. Is it clicking a Zoom link where you just sit there and watch, or is it turning your TV to 1302 where you sit there and watch? This is a technology issue. about giving access so people can watch. But apparently, if you don't do Zoom, you are not allowed to watch. If you do Zoom, you're allowed to watch. So it's really difficult for me to understand because there's absolutely zero compunction that people have to participate or fill in their real name if they don't want to,
Correct.
or they can dial in and they don't even have to give you who they are, and they can just be sitting there on Zoom. So, you know, there's really no difference except that folks that are kind of concerned about Zoom and don't like doing Zoom or are intimidated by it have no access to this forum. You know, we already have certain types of you know, a lot of what we're doing already, you know, is not ADA friendly. So, you know, this was just a way to give people an access to see it. And it's just a technology thing. It
Yeah.
has no difference. So if you can click Zoom, you're allowed to sit there and watch. If you can't click Zoom for some reason, you're not allowed to sit there and watch.
It's kind of like, you know, if you don't have a card to get to the town hall to engage, I fully feel for you, but you don't come to the town hall to engage. Now, your points is well taken. It's heard. There's just not going to be any YouTube on this one. And for future roundtables, maybe it should be a broader discussion with the counselors and all the participants. And everything I've heard from everyone is no YouTube. So,
Yeah, well, you know, I was told, you know, I certainly would have reached out and explained to everyone my point. I was told that we were going to discuss it at this meeting. So apparently this was widely discussed outside of this meeting, which is fine. And the decision was made. But when I made my points, I didn't hear back other than, oh, okay, we will discuss it at the communications committee meeting.
well,
So
to be
that's
fair,
a little disappointing because what I would have done is reached out to all the counselors and all the BOE and said, you know, here's what I'm thinking. You know, what do you think? But, you know, that's not what happened. We didn't do it
that's
that way.
correct. And just to be clarified, I reached out to the chair of the communication committee on the BOE, not the other BOE members. I had the discussion with them and they said, no, they do not want it on
Yeah,
YouTube.
but you're missing
And I
my
wasn't
point.
gonna try to convince
You're
them.
missing my point. I would have made my points about why I think it's important for people to have access, points that they might not have thought of. So that's where we're at now. I did not get to make those points. We already had one without access. We're going to have another one without access, so people can make up their mind if they want to participate.
Okay,
I've amended the webpage, so if you go to the town's website now, you will see under the roundtable discussion on the news feed, the date, time, and the correct link for Zoom.
Are all the links in sync? The one on the town calendar, the one on the budget portal, and the one on the news feed? Are those all in sync and clickable?
They should be. I don't know how the roundtable discussion newsfeed item was edited to remove out the June 10th date and the link that was there to accompany, but I put that link in myself before. I don't know where it went. But the links that are in the roundtable discussion should be that same link. I'm clicking on it now. It's asking me to register when I click on the one that's on the sidebar calendar.
Yep.
And when I go to the budget portal, and I go to the calendar on the budget portal, and I click on that, it also is asking me to register. So those are all live Zoom links.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
We can also bring this up on the, at the workshop tomorrow, correct?
Yep.
That's live. We can make reference to it. Okay. Moving on. I had a constructive discussion on the new website. I don't know if the other counselors had time to do it, but I spent Saturday when it was raining was a perfect time to sit down and walk through a website. So I did mine in two phases. I went in it as just a resident, going to a website, parsed on everything that I thought would be of interest to me, wanted to see how intuitive it was, how easy it was to get back to my starting place. I thought it worked well. The next day I went in and came at it from a counselor perspective, like we always do. We use the web to try to drill down and find information. And my expectations weren't really high because we still have those constraints on, you know, the sorting and whatnot. So, but my general feeling on it was I was pleased with it.
So, can we ask a question? Did you say you have Don on?
I do.
If you don't mind, Betsy, I think we were going to get there on item 7.
Oh,
Can it wait or, yeah, no.
I'm sorry. I
don't
thought we
have
were
the
talking
agenda.
about the website.
Yeah, well, just want to make sure. We have item number 7, Councilor Gleistein's question regarding the website.
No,
Okay.
this is different.
Okay,
I thought you wanted feedback on the website.
no, it was a constructive discussion between the 3 of us. And then when you brought forward some questions about the website, I thought would that be a logical place for questions on the website? Am I missing something?
Yeah, I have a question in order to make my feedback constructive. So
Okay,
I'm trying to find out, you know, where we consider that we are in this process. You know, so for example, you know, I did some searches and that they were quite slow. And, you know, for example, I searched for shoreland and I got 1 result back. And on the regular website, I got 492 results back. And I searched for marijuana. I got 1 result back on the new website. And I got, I can't remember how many, several back on the 92, I think, or something on the regular website. So some of the things that I was seeing, I just don't know if that's because things are not indexed yet and they're not prepared yet. And so that was one of my questions is, you know, where do we feel we're at with the development?
A lot of the info hasn't been moved over yet, Betsy.
that's what I assumed.
What I
right?
was gathering.
Right. So that's what I just wanted to understand is where we were at on that, and then why the search was so much slower. And then of course, only getting 1 result, I could not see how things sorted. But what I did notice was when I got the 1 result, I can't see the date it was posted and a lot of other information. So I went back and forth between the 2 websites because I don't have a big problem with our website other than a lot of things that you click on, you know, don't necessarily work, and consistency. So, you know, you can see when you do a search on our website and you search for something, you actually get back
You got a lot, right?
not in an order that you want, but you actually get the name of the document, you get who posted it, the date, where it's actually located on the tab system. So if it's town government, town ordinance, so you get all of that. On the search on the website, the new website, that is not what came up.
Right. And I apologize. I just assumed that kind of question would be with the webmaster when he joined on. I was looking for a look and feel. I understood it was slow, but I also understand it's probably on a development box. There were no meetings, very few, live streaming, just like in IT, right? We have subsets of data in the development area. So I kind of made that assumption. I guess
look and feel, I was curious if, you know, what the plan was, you know, for like some consistency, like, so if you drill down to look at, say, planning board meetings,
Yeah.
You know, there would be a window that would pop up and would say agenda, minutes, media. But if you went to some of the council pages, the council committee pages, you didn't have those same topics, you know, at the top. I'm not saying they won't be there, but that's again, like trying to figure out where we're at. So I guess a general question on that would be, you know, what's the plan for look and feel? Is it going to have a really consistent look and feel across all the different places that you drill down to?
I think, Betsy, if I can speak to that one a little bit, I think that the example that you gave, the town council has a very unique look to it on its page because it has the 7 councilors' photos and their committees that they support. Like it just has different information than any of the other boards or committees has on it. And then also on the council page, there's the quick links on the right-hand side for the agendas and minutes, also a link to the council committees and to a link to the meeting broadcasts. So I think that the council is being treated as the layout is just different because of the volume of information necessary. But I think that the intent is that for the other boards and committees, that they would have a similar feel, that the planning board would have a similar feel to the long range planning committee, for instance.
So can I share the screen just to show you what I mean?
Sure. Do you want me to pull it up? I've got it. Okay.
I don't know if I can actually show it to you in quick order, but let's see.
Also, Larissa, I do believe, has an update for us on a gadget.
I do. It's true. Betsy, do you want me to just pull it up? I've got it waiting in the background. Oh, you've got it. Okay.
Is that it? Can you see or not?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, Zoom is really weird because once you go to a different page, it seems like it stops sharing. But so this is the communications committee. You know, it just says title and description here. But if I go down to boards and committees and say I happen to go to the planning board, I'm getting date, agenda, minutes, multimedia, actions, notes.
I think that the planning board one has been updated and is what we are heading towards, and the council committees have not gotten there yet, Betsy.
Okay, yeah, so that's my only question was about the look and feel. So you're right, your goal is to get the look and feel consistent across the different things people click down to, right?
So Betsy, while you're there, can you go up to the top banner, please, with the brick background and click on that new link that says stay connected?
Yep. And I did try that, but that's.
Ta-da!
Oh, look at that. That's great.
It's like Christmas in
Oh,
June.
look at that. Sign up for the latest news and committee stuff.
Right.
That's great. Yeah, it was funny because, you know, the state's doing that now and all their COVID stuff and all that. It's like so convenient. I've signed up for the notices. Hey, look, they just put out a new mandate or whatever. You know, it's like it's very helpful to get those. So that's great. I clicked on that earlier today or yesterday. So this is really new.
Very new. Very new.
Because I did the same thing. I clicked on it and went,
That's great.
But you know, part of what we're going to have to think about is how to let people know about that new feature. Also, I think we've had several people ask us about it, so we can go directly back to them and say, hey, you can do this now. But to get into a broader audience, not quite sure.
So, and I think this might have changed too, because I think there was ad hoc and public safety building here earlier. Is that
They
right?
do change, Betsy. They change live. They're being driven by Google Analytics. So
Okay.
that is what's trending. So you can see what people, those are the top things that people are clicking on the website.
So probably us, right? Because since we're the only ones on it.
You.
But yeah, oh, let me click here, new public safety building. So and there's community center. So this was another place where I just, you know, thought that this is going to be a lot of work with keeping content kind of consistent. You know, on this particular one, you know, they kind of did like a recent meeting minutes and some pictures, which is cool. You know, if I go to not that one, if I go back to, I got to go back to trend. So if I go back to the community center one, this one had, you know, kind of a little bit of an exclamation and then, you know, I guess types of things people could click. So to me, like, these are very good. I think the challenge is going to be for you guys, which we're not on item 7 yet, but how to keep that content consistent
Right.
and
current.
and what those trending topics should look like. So if I'm seeing this right, this is kind of, if I tie it back to our homepage, this is like a combination of our news feed and our buttons, would you say?
No, I'm not running the show. I can't move, I can't scroll. So no, Betsy, can you scroll down please on your page?
You want me to stop sharing and you bring it up?
Sure. Okay. And just give me a second to get where I need to go. All right, you all there with me?
Yep.
Okay, so if we scroll down, Betsy, that's where you're going to see the news feed on your left-hand side there.
Okay.
Okay, so that, and then you also have the Facebook feed on the right-hand side,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the calendar kind of embedded there in the middle. This part up here is entirely driven by the people visiting the website. So what is the most popular topics being searched for on the website, being clicked on the website? That's what's being driven on this. So it's going to be a constantly changing, this is what's popular now on our website feature.
And how did they get to news public safety building? So let's say that wasn't trending. How did they get there? That was one thing I didn't.
So if, so we had talked about, let me just see if it's the top. So we have talked in the past about having a couple of different ways to do things like that. One of them that we have talked about is having a projects page that's separate and distinct from any one department. So that if I'm interested in some sort of large project in town, I go to the project page and I can find out what is that new infrastructure I'm seeing, what's that new thing I heard about in town. Like let's say that there was another large TIF discussion. Okay, so that would count. Let me just take a quick look and see. So we've talked about kind of thinking about how that could look and if that would be a good way to make that happen. And I think it's one of those places that we hadn't quite landed yet. And so we've got some time to do that. But you would originally, in the originals on our current site, you find the public safety building information. It had its own button for a long, it still does. You find it on the left-hand guide bar section, it has its own button. We would kind of consider that old news at this point. That building is now open, it's functioning. That wouldn't be something that we would want to use up space on our landing page for going forward. In the same way that we have now taken the Downs TIF CEA discussion off of that landing page, and it's now housed within the planning pages. And so something like the public safety building would be then linked from the fire or the police pages.
So maybe just something called Hot Topics. Home, stay connected, or news or hot topics. And then have your drill down, and underneath those. And then eventually, if people are really interested in it, it will start trending.
Yep, and actually we currently do have, right now under news is where that projects page is housed. And it's empty at the moment. It hasn't been populated yet, but it is where we would put those kind of like large projects be housed under there.
Yeah, news that seems good.
Okay.
So then we can wait on that.
Other news, and we certainly will discuss this more at length when we have our IT director joining us. IT would really like to actually launch this July 6th rather, I'm sorry, Monday, July 6th. They think that they are hearing enough frustration with the current site that they would like to just move forward and do kind of a phased launch, I think is what I'm understanding. And I certainly would prefer for them to speak to those. They use words sometimes that I don't have in my regular everyday vocabulary. So I think it's best for me not to try to use them for them. And one of the things that I was hoping to kind of get some feedback from you guys on is how to really promote that if we are going to launch that on July 6th. I have some ideas about how we can promote that, but I will hold that until I hear from you, Councillor Johnson, that you would like to hear from them or not.
So I had a little feedback, and I don't know if this will change that plan. When I look at this homepage, I just think it has way too much information on it. It's a little overwhelming, and I thought it would be confusing. I don't know if you've looked at other websites, you probably have, but a lot of times you want your landing screen to, like Google, for instance, right? There's basically one piece of information, you enter your search. There's other town websites that I've looked at that it's not quite as overwhelming. They might break it down into like services or news or calendar, and you can kind of, or highlighted items, spotlight. But basically it's a picture of the town. And then there's some trees that you can follow to get to different areas. I didn't find this one all that intuitive right now. And maybe that's just me being dense. But that's, I wanted to at least share that feedback.
Thank you. And I think that that's what we were hoping to kind of have happen with our
Focus group.
focus groups, was to get a sense. The staff that we've had, you know, kind of play around on this have found it to be very intuitive and easy to grab, to kind of navigate on. So it's interesting to hear a different perspective on that, certainly. And
I'm slow.
I'm sorry?
I'm slow.
No,
Oh.
just have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I think, John, sometimes when people are more tech savvy, you're expecting things to operate in a certain way. I've found that to be the case, but I guess in terms of July 6th, you know, I mean, what's there today, I would certainly is good, but, you know, I wouldn't want to have it released until the search was, you know, rock solid and we're getting the same results that we get on the current site, and we're getting them quickly and they're sorted, or it's a sortable output, because that was one of the primary goals. And residents come and search for information, you know, all the time. I'd love to see an even, you know, larger search tool where it said, oh, here's how you do an advanced search. You know, like you can go to the state website and says you can do this, the simple search, or do this, and you know, you can really drill down. And then the consistency. So I guess one of the, you know, questions when we talk to the IT folks, you know, are about, you know, how this is going to be updated, you know, how easy the tools are, because I think the COVID crisis really showed, you know, again, our personal website, it's not flashy, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's, you know, it's easy to kind of get around. The problem with our personal website has been the inconsistent information and the links to nowhere. You know, I could, right now, I guarantee you, I could bring up 3 links to nowhere, or 3 links that would bring me to errors, because, you know, there's just stuff like that. I would hate to see us roll out something that we started off like that. So I guess I'm looking to kind of hear a little bit myself about what the QA plan is. You know, I think, you know, how's it going to be tested for those consistency factors and those links, you know, being able to drill down. I think a successful rollout is probably just as important, if not more important than
I agree.
a quick rollout. And I think we should still try to get some residents. I really do. We had some names, like there was a guy that was really good. I think I sent the name a long time ago. It's just virtual. They can just get on and give you great feedback. So July 6th is a dream. I love it. I'm so happy that people are working so hard. It's much appreciated. But I think we want to make sure that, you know, people don't get on and find any problems, you know, from the start, because, you know, it's not going to be perfect. You know, somebody's going to find something, but.
Larissa, with that launch, were you planning to port all the history over? Sorry.
So I think that really those are questions that would be best answered by the IT director, please.
Okay, but who controls the timeline? I'm kind of assuming that's you.
That's
and
administrative.
the town manager, correct?
Yep, that's an administrative decision.
Well, it is, and yet if this gets rolled out and there's a major issues with it, I can tell you as a counselor, I will be very upset. So, and I will not hold back at all in terms of telling residents that I have been very clear that, you know, we need a successful launch.
Right.
So, you know, it would be good to have a nice warm and fuzzy feeling about how that's going to be achieved if July 6th is the date. I think one problem with the communications committee is you have 3 IT professionals who've done tons of IT rollouts. So, you know, there's whole project plans, there's all kinds of things that go behind it. And, you know, so to say we're skeptical is not skeptical of you guys, it's skeptical of all the projects that we've been involved in that we've seen go bad. So, you know,
Yeah, that's why I was asking Betsy. It was to who to have the dialogue with on the date.
right.
You know, was it being driven by the IT department or the town manager and assistant town manager?
I
So
mean, if I logged in today and man, my searches came up and I clicked and all that, and every page was consistent, I would have been like, woo! And I'm still very happy with it. Don't get me wrong. But to me, that's why I asked my first question. It's not quite ready. So
Right.
what's the plan to get it ready? What's the plan to test? What's the plan?
So-
to QA?
Let me be very clear. Administration would never say to the IT department, we are launching this website on this date, make it happen. It's an administrative decision versus a council decision, in that administration will be taking the advice of the IT department and what the IT department feels they can do, and that will be setting the launch date. I think, so just to be very clear about that. Tom and I are not IT professionals. We do not have any background in what makes a successful website. And so there is no interest from Tom or I in saying, this is the date we should launch.
okay.
That's not the conversation that's happening. We're hearing from our IT staff, we think we can launch July 6th.
Okay, well, I think when we have the discussion with the IT staff on item number 7, we may be able to sway them differently. John, do you have any other feedback on it other than your initial feedback?
No, you know, I always try to simplify things, and when I looked at it, I just didn't think it was quite there yet. I thought there was some neat, like new technology being used in places.
Good.
But the organization-wise, it just didn't seem like the design was quite there.
Okay. Yeah, because I would actually like to see the feature, the alert feature for meetings. I'd actually like to see
I love that.
work, you know, set up an alert for myself for something that's going to be happening, and then get the alert and see where that takes me, things like that. Yeah, because we definitely don't, nobody should get us wrong. The council is sitting here along with the whole council definitely wants this to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And like Councilor Gleisteen said, we've all been on enough software projects where a lot of times I'll go to work and go, yep, they must have rolled something out on the weekend, didn't tell me, right? Spend half the day trying to straighten my world out. So we're just trying to avoid that. That's the only place we're coming from.
It was the very last one I was involved in. It was not my fault, but we were still recovering from it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have that discussion on item 7. Item 6 is that infamous $10,000. I just wanted to, I think we've all agreed that's probably, even though we could probably use it, we don't know how yet, but it might not be the best time to use it in light of where we are with the budget. So,
I really wanted to roll it over, so I guess I'm the odd duck out here.
okay, yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I just didn't know what the protocol was to have that done. I'm assuming it would be a council. The committee would bring it to the council for a decision. How's that work, Larissa?
I think that when we discussed this last time, what I would recommend would be cleanest is to not roll it over, but to instead have an amendment at second reading that assigned it for next year. And you could, in that second reading, you could say that ask it to roll over then as part of that action.
Okay.
So that you're okay. But I think that somehow it should be an amendment at second reading, so that it's very clear, so the whole council has an opportunity to vote on it, just like they did last year. They put it in place last year at second reading through a vote. And I think that is what I would recommend to you be the process this time.
And we could bring it out of committee with a recommendation if we agreed on what to do. I'm not sure that we do. I mean, where I'm at, I would, not to diminish the value, but I think given some of the other cuts that have been made, I think it would probably be appropriate from my perspective to allow this to flow into the general fund and potentially impact next year's budget in a positive way. And then if we want a conscious decision by the council to spend money on either survey or whatever we might use those funds for, then we could look at it that way. We could look to budget the funds that way.
Right, that's the other side of it. The thing of it is trying to, it's like anything in life, trying to claw something back after it's gone is a lot more difficult than setting it aside. Now, granted, this was this year's budget, right? Already in the budget. So we're not asking anybody to increase 2021
Right.
to fund this. This truly is a rollover, an unused amount rolled over.
Right. And that was my understanding, was that Tom could just roll it over, that there didn't have to be a big formal vote. I thought that's what we said. Tom could roll it over. So,
Can. I think that when we had this conversation last time, we talked about how it could be rolled over as like an administrative action, but that as your staff person who's only can give advice, I just think that it's been enough of a conversation at the committee level that it seems cleanest to somehow make it an action item.
yeah, we've got so much going on. I mean, I would think it might be cleaner to roll it over now, and then we can always apply it to the fund balance, John. You know, we can always say, let's put this in the fund balance. We're not going to use it. Then at that point, because of COVID and everything going on, you know, we haven't had, you know, we certainly didn't get to roll out our communication plan, you know, and we didn't get to loop back around to the council to say,
Right.
look, hey, we've kind of changed this slightly. We're going to do a survey, but it's going to be wrapped up in the Be Informed campaign, and you know, all that got sidelined. You know, whether or not we can get all that going again, I hope to heck that we can. So
Right.
I guess my request is just roll it forward, you know, based on this committee. And then if we really can't get that done, we can't do it, then we turn it over. You know, I mean, Tom doesn't commit taxes till August, you know, we turn it back over to the fund balance, and, you know, then it's in there. So, you know,
I mean, just to clarify that, so when we commit taxes, it's based on what we establish for the total net appropriation. So that's determined by the council before we send it to the voters. So he can't, like,
right.
he, at a lower level, he can adapt how he manages that overall number. But I think that's a really tough message to send when you've got different bargaining units coming back to the table and saying they're not going to take a COLA increase for 6 months, and you know, non-union staff actually being forced into that. I just think this is one item that is probably not critical path enough to prioritize over somebody's race, and I feel like that's what we would be doing.
Well, yeah, I guess I just agree with Ken's point. You know, this is money from last year that had a COVID interruption. I mean, we were planning on about right now, the Be Informed campaign would be rolling out and the money would be spent. So, and there would be no money to apply. So, you know, that's where I'm at. I think it, you know, it's a point well taken. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough call, but, you know,
Well, it is a tough call, and I'll be just very honest. I agree with you, John, to have that conversation at the same time that we're looking at a possible, you know, senior addition tax credit and folks foregoing money. I don't want to have that conversation, but I don't want to make it look like I'm trying to hide anything. I look at this as money already assigned, but we have to do it, you know, procedurally the correct way. So
Yeah, I'm fine with having the conversation. I guess I was just saying, I would support passing that money, moving it forward to something else. But I mean, I guess we can, I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion to bring this out of committee with a recommendation. I'm not real, I guess, clear on what outcome you guys are looking for.
yeah, I would like to make a motion for Tom to roll it forward. And then, you know, we can address it in the future. So my motion would be to roll forward into FY21 the $10,000 that was slated for the survey, with the intention of evaluating how to utilize that money that would have been used in FY20 if it were not for COVID.
how about a time? Do you want to put a time certain on that? Because like John mentioned, by a certain, by August? If we have not found a valid reason supported by the full council to use it, then it rolls in the general fund.
Yes, I would support that by mid-August, I think. whenever our meetings are, but it's hard to, our meetings at the beginning of the month, well, we may meet more than, anyway, but are typically, which Monday are we? The second Monday? Normally?
Of what?
Oh, normally the meetings are the second Monday.
First Monday. I delayed this one with the first Monday.
Okay, so how about August 5th, by August 5th? That would give us Monday, the 3rd, to make a final decision to send to council.
So if we go that motion, we just stand pat until that date, is that correct? Again, I'm thinking of protocol. What's the protocol here?
We see if we can spend it by that date.
It has to be budgeted somehow. So I think to direct Tom to include it in the budget, you'd either have, maybe he already has, or maybe he'd be looking for the finance committee or the council to just authorize it again. I'm not clear. Larissa, do you know?
So it's not in the budget because it's already been raised through taxation. So that money is $10,000 that has been raised through taxation and is there. It is in our coffers at the moment. The question in front of you is, do you allow that money to stay in the coffers in the form of fund balance? And that would be then either used to offset taxation next year, okay? Or it would be used to just simply maintain fund balance. Do you allow that to remain in the town's coffers, but still designated for its purpose that it was voted into being with last year through the town council process? Okay. Or do you, so I think those are really your two paths.
Yeah.
And then the first path though has two options. It's like a little choose your own adventure novel. So if you choose path A and you say, okay, we're going to allow that money to stay in the town's coffers, but to fall to fund balance, then you have another set of choices to make. Do you go back to your fellow councilors at the council level through an amendment at second reading and say, we would like to ask the council to reassign that back to us for use at some point during FY21 for the purpose that it was originally assigned? Or do you not, and it's just going to go fall into fund balance to either offset taxation in FY21 or to maintain fund balance? So
Option 2, which is we leave it where it is for the purpose that it was intended.
and ask Tom to assign it as a rolling over, because if there's no action taken, if you as a committee decide to remain mute, that money is going to roll into fund balance and stay there.
Automatically, correct.
Right.
Yeah, so my motion is to leave the money where it is and ask Tom to roll it over for its intended use. I guess can maybe leave the date out of it, but in the motion, but we've discussed the date. I think we should decide by August 5th.
Yep. That way, if we don't have legitimate and feel confident, and again, we're gonna know a lot more come August 5th, right? I mean.
Right, it can go right in the fund balance.
Yep.
This is the motion I have written down. I don't think I caught all of the words. So Councillor Gleistein, please let me know if this catches your. I have that. Councillor Gleistein, make a motion to roll forward $10,000 from FY20 to FY21 to be used by the Town Council Communications Committee for its intended use.
Boy, that was way better than I said it, Larissa. Yeah, way better.
Yeah. Okay.
And I second that motion. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think my discussion would be, it's to Larissa's point, this is something that is not in the FY21 budget right now. So if our intent is to carry it forward, it needs to get added to the FY21 budget. No?
No, the money has, in my opinion, and I'm willing to be overruled by this by Tom if I'm incorrect, but in my opinion, that is money that has already been raised through taxation and it's there. In the same way that when we approved like the pumper truck that was approved by the voters last November, that money has been approved. We haven't spent it yet because we're still waiting on the truck to be built. But the money has been, we've been granted permission to have that money and we're going to use it for its intended use, even though it will be in FY21 when it happens. So it's not in the budget. So if it were, that would mean we would have raised it twice. So if we put it in the FY21 budget, not as a rollover, and without allowing the FY20 number to fall into fund balance, you actually would have raised $20,000 through taxation for a $10,000 project, and people get a little cranky when that happens.
Right, yeah, so it's just a rollover, yeah.
So then it's really not part of the second reading of the FY21 budget.
No, and my recommendation was only, and I see that we can certainly see cleaner in different ways. I think that I think there can be value in both ways. If you wished to bring it as a council discussion, at that point, I would recommend that you do it from we're allowing this to fall into fund balance. We'd like you to then raise it again through taxation.
I would think that would be a council discussion on August 3rd, whether we've decided to use it or roll it into the fund balance. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I think it can roll into the fund balance at any time, really. We can say, you know what, we don't need it. And then of course, anytime we can tap into the fund balance if we have shortage of funds or revenue shortages or whatever. So yeah, to me, it's cleaner to just roll it over and because of the major COVID interruption, figure out if we can get our Be Informed campaign off the ground. And if the council likes that campaign, which we didn't even totally get to discuss with them whether they like that campaign. And then if they do, we go forward with that campaign. If they don't, then, we can say, look, this, maybe half of it can roll back and we could still use it for this or whatever. But, that's to be determined. But that's cleaner to me than taking it to council right now.
Yeah, so I guess the accounting doesn't make any sense to me. To me, at the end of the fiscal year, whatever money you haven't spent goes into fund balance, right? And then if you want to spend it in the following year, it should be in your budget. And that doesn't mean you can't take money, plan to spend money from fund balance to offset what you collect from taxation, right? So there could be an offset there. But to me, this needs to be if we're going to spend it next year, it should be in the budget for next year, unless I don't understand I guess our accounting.
Tom had told us we could roll it over. I know it's my question specifically because I'm used to places where you can't roll over operations, but you can roll over capital. And then I work at a major nonprofit where we actually can roll over some operating too, which I was recently involved with at work. So there was a contract negotiation that just really stalled and we rolled the operating forward for the budget. So I guess it really depends on rules and Tom had told us early on we could roll it over. So
we can roll over operations. That's a good way to phrase that. So John, we do that. We roll over operations monies on occasion. Departments can do that as well. It's not just council. If there was something that they were going to be doing in one fiscal year that had council approval and they weren't able to get to it for whatever reason, COVID would be a good example, but they can ask permission from Tom to roll it forward. So it really is just my recommendation was what it was and still would be. And I think, John, that's more in keeping with what you're kind of saying, but I don't think that there's anything unethical or inappropriate or in any way wrong about doing a rollover. I think that is also an equally valid path forward.
Okay.
So then again, I second the motion.
Yeah, I can't do that for you, Councillor Johnson. Do you want to call all in favor? And I'll do the roll call.
All in favor?
Councillor Clucci?
No.
Councillor Gleistine?
Yes.
Councillor Johnson?
Yes. All right, item number 7.
Okay, I'm going to promote up our folks that are waiting with us.
And Councillor Gleistine, I'm going to defer to you. I read your questions; they're all good. I have similar questions, so I'll let you roll with it.
Yeah, you would do that because I don't have the questions in front of me. But
I have the questions. Do you want me to share them up on the screen so you guys can be all looking at the questions?
Well, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thanks. I thought so.
Yeah, and then
okay, and our IT director, Don Bajan, has answered some of them, so you'll also see written responses, and I can share this out with you folks later.
Okay.
But he is live on with you, so certainly if you want to just kind of start at the beginning and work through, he can respond in real time too.
And Counselor Johnson, do we want to, well, I'm afraid we're going to run out of time because I guess beyond this, because when I sent questions, we didn't have someone saying, that July 6th was when they were thinking about go live, and then we had some feedback. So I don't know, Don, were you on the call when we were asking some questions around searches and content and consistency, or were you not on the call?
No, I heard the whole conversation, Councilor Feinstein,
So
and
maybe you can address some of those that you heard as well, even though they're not on this list.
yeah. So what I would say is number one, if you want to glance through the responses that I've provided, the questions, because some of the questions that you've asked and the responses I've provided go to the suppositions that were made during your discussion when I was offline. My response to the July 6th timeline overall is I'm not terribly concerned about the timeline. I believe that I wouldn't have made the recommendation if I didn't believe that we could meet that timeline commitment. I don't disagree with Councilor Cloutier. Sorry, I butchered that. No one gets mine either, Beijing. So I do agree that the front page is a little bit busy. I think that it's to me, it's the bottom of the page that really causes a little bit of a clutter, because you've got 3 different aspects of the design going all at the same time, side by side by side. There's certainly some room for discussion there. The rest of the navigation, we did extensive research of other municipalities and school districts, and the rest of it's pretty consistent with what you will find throughout the state and the country. The products that we looked at, based on the feedback that we got in our original communications committee meeting, do we do it ourselves or do we outsource it? We looked at a number of different products. You'll see in my response, we narrowed it down to essentially one product, the Civic Plus product. It's very extensively used in the public sector, primarily because it's built for that. Yes, there's a lot of other products that we could employ out there, but this one literally is built for municipalities, and it's begun to adapt itself for school districts as well, keeping in mind we serve both sides as a shared service. The issue there is that going towards that service is a significant buy-in cost, and then the annual operating costs for that are fairly significant as well, because of some of the requirements that the communications committee have outlined. It's not just the website creation, design, content updating and all, which many of the municipalities in the state of Maine, they just have a website. They put their content up, they change, if you look at them, there's 20, 25, 28 that I looked at. Literally, they almost all look exactly the same. They change the header to protect the innocent, and the rest of it's exactly the same. It's a cookie cutter. That's because they pay the baseline price. They throw in the basic information, and that's it. And I found that on a number of sites that were out of state as well. The timeline, go back to that for July 6th, is to do a staged or phased implementation to go live. I believe that we have the majority of the content that needs to be implemented. We've struggled a bit trying to keep 2 websites running at the same time, or 3 actually, the schools, the town, and the development of the new town. And the more, the larger the audience has gotten for the new town website, and the more that people have started to dig in and pick at it, as far as I've got a broken link, or I've got this page doesn't quite look the way that one does, you're all right. And we've all four got extensive background in IT. I've been doing this for 35 years. And I've got just as much project experience, probably everybody except maybe Counselor Johnson. So the issue here is that I've got one person trying to do all three. And we can handle two at a time. It's when we get to three that we start to run out of steam. So my proposal to the town manager and assistant town manager was to take what we do have ready, publish that, and then to take the pressure of trying to maintain two websites. And then that gives us the manpower to be able to focus all of our effort on the additional components of the new website that need to be rolled out. Following through with what Larissa was trying to do in the first place, which was to bring in the forum, get her public forums together and bring people in to then start picking at it section by section. Architecturally, on the front and the back end, I think we have a sound product. Link-wise, everything has to be checked before anything gets rolled out. That's standard practice.
So the searches, I mean, because, you know, that's key. Like, I think if you switch in the middle of budget season to a tool where people can't find what they're searching for, we'll have to switch back. So can you explain?
No, we won't. And I hate to interrupt.
If the searches are what they're going to be, or why they're not working?
They're not, we haven't indexed all the content,
Okay.
and we also haven't imported all the content in. One
Okay.
of the final phases of the development is to do a final import, because a lot of the information has changed over the last 6 months. So we're basically dealing with demo information at this point. So we need to true it all up. We also need to put some final scripting in so that the returns on the scripts, the return on the searches, excuse me, are not searching the entire asset database in the back end. They're searching for the links, the pages, and the PDFs.
Okay,
right now,
great.
it's searching
Yeah.
everything.
When you said you was ready to go, I thought you meant that it was, so, but there are still lots you're planning to do, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, and just like you found the what's new or stay connected rather link just came up yesterday, where we just got permission to move forward with that Friday. So, I mean, we're moving pretty quickly on a couple changes that the three of you had asked for. Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, I was just wondering what's the rollout plan? If your cutoff date is on the 6th, I'm assuming you've got like dedicated support for X amount of, because you know you're like everybody, you're a commodity and a lot of people want you. So how do we just feel comfortable that the priority of this website is like #1 for a certain amount of time, not forever, of course. You know, the rollout probably take a couple months. Is that built into your plan?
Yes, it is, Councilor Johnson. We reprioritized our webmaster's work last week, and he's to focus 100% of his effort on this through the 6th, and then beyond that. I'm anticipating that it will be at least through the end of July that his 100% effort will be there, and that we will reassess it after we get through the end of July.
What's the mechanism for you to receive input for enhancements or corrections or whatnot? Is it through admin then to you, or us as counselors? Can we come directly to you? How's that work, Larissa?
So I think we've got 3 avenues. because I like to get as much as we can through Larissa and her focus groups, as well as the council. Generally that comes through Larissa, or it can come directly. And then we also take direct input from staff, and that comes in through the help desk, or as we walk down the hall. It's pretty much the lint brush approach.
Right. I mean, will this be a ticketed process?
Yes, we ticket everything that we possibly can. Our webmaster is better at it than most because he doesn't get out in the hall too much. So that keeps him from going the informal route.
Don,
I'm going to stop sharing Betsy's questions because I feel like we've kind of gone in a different direction, and that just seems like a confusing thing to have in the backdrop.
Yeah.
Don, you hit on this a little bit, but I just wanted to confirm that your intent is to port over all of the historical meeting minutes and agendas, and whatever you can find on the current site, you'll be able to find on the new site. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll be able to bring up the tools that we've put in place for allowing the community to sign up for alerts, notifications, which was a key aspect that you had asked about early on.
That was a gadget, right? You found, because I was going to talk to you about that. I found it. I didn't know it was that inexpensive. Was like $10 a month or something like that. So what you said, Lois? Because there's a bunch of gadgets out there.
Yeah, we did. We looked at just a ton of different tools out there. When we were able to nail it down to the exact functionality that we were looking for, basically after we got to the point where we realized we couldn't outsource the website itself, just based on cost. That helped us tremendously to nail down exactly what the rest of the requirements would be.
So now, is that list for subscriptions, is that set like, so I think right now it's planning board, town of Scarborough. I'm not quite sure what that
Set
means.
up as an example, Betsy. It can be adjusted. To
Okay. All right.
No, we could put anything we want on there.
Okay.
We gave Brian a short list just so that he could demonstrate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
we'll
could
also include the town newsletter. Will be on there as another link, so we can try to pump those numbers up through another avenue.
So that'll be nice. And it would be nice if we had an easy area for the town newsletter archive, because I find myself looking for old town newsletters. Like, wait, I know this was in a newsletter. So
yeah, and that's why I also said that sometimes on the archive side, doing a search is easier than looking through some of the folders, because of the way the archives are organized. Looking for the little icon with the name of it or whatever could be pretty difficult.
So from the homepage, I'm kind of looking for it here. If I wanted to watch a certain video, what's going to be my best way to do that? Because let's say I wanted to watch a finance committee video. So I guess I could go to government and town council. And then from there, I could go to finance committee. And what I would see now currently would be the past meetings, and I can click on a video, but I think that was one of the ones I brought up during the meeting that just had title and description. Is that going to be consistent where today on today's website, if I'm savvy enough to know to go to the finance committee homepage, I can pretty much find the packets, the recordings, the minutes. Is that going to be similar here? Because right now it's not, but I don't know where I would go, because do I have to dig down through departments and find SCTV? And the YouTube thing is really a challenge, at least for me. It works when I go to the search, I can find stuff with the search, but.
Well, so we didn't, as Larissa pointed out earlier, we have not got the menu headers set up in every one of the committees. And we have that also in some of the departments. They will be standardized before we roll this
Oh,
out.
so that's part of the July 6th. Okay, great.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we have historically, when you go back and look at it from an archive perspective, we historically have had now at least 3, if not 4 or more types of recordings occurring. So initially, the best that we're going to be able to do is basically what we're doing now. You'll get a title, and from that we'll be able to in a date, and we'll be able to do a meta search for that. But we're going to have to work with staff to go in and create a much better tagging system for all of our assets. That, because we don't have a true document archive and retrieval system, I have to admit that that's going to be a work in progress, and that has really nothing to do with the website design and rollout. That's a shortcoming of the fact that we don't have a formal document management system that the website should be accessing.
So it's like a naming scheme or something that will be consistent or something.
Yes, yes, and that's a much bigger project that we need to take on wholesale across the entire organization, and we are making some small inroads here and there. But as I've mentioned in a couple of our discussions, both with the full council and your group as well, there's a lot of obstacles. You know this from all of your projects. There's a lot of obstacles to tackling a project like that wholesale. Some of them are cultural, and some of them are skill set related, and so staff will need to be brought along, and part of that is identifying how to standardize the naming convention so that people from different departments, and then the community, and then businesses can get in and use the search system, especially in an advanced search mode.
Yep.
How do we simplify that but also make it useful?
Right.
So where are the video archives now under this? Where would I?
In the current site,
The new site.
they're essentially they're both basically using the same type of an archive. They're in big folders.
So how do I get there on the new website? I'm not clear on how I get to the video archives.
Okay, so
Well, I think that I'm hearing from Don, though, that those paths are going to be improved, Betsy, as before the rollout. So I'm not sure that there's the value in finding out how to get them now when the street signs haven't been put up yet. So I think that that's part of what's being populated in the next couple of weeks.
right, and that's accurate, Larissa. Thank you. Because we basically put some of this information in there. We just lumped it in so that we had something that we could temporarily link to. We need to go back and clean that up. We did that for the purposes of allowing people to be able to test the system. But
Right. Yeah, I guess my question was just a little bit different.
Oh.
And I'm just going to try to compare it to current website, so kind of functionality for functionality. Current website, sometimes when I really, like I don't want to drill down all that, I just go click the SCTV button, and then I can search and see what I've got recorded there. I just don't, what's the drop down to get to the SCTV button, I guess, the equivalent.
gotcha. It's under the communication services.
Okay.
So if we go to community services, sorry.
Yep. And then
And
childcare.
Don, is it one of the things that we could put in as a link on the residents page? So I'm a resident, I want to watch meetings, I go to that residents page, and could SCTV be one of the buttons?
Certainly, yeah.
Right now, oh, I guess it's community TV. Yeah. And then
Yep.
this is all new since we had COVID, but where is the YouTube? Because right now there's a way to click into the YouTube, although it's not.
We haven't put that in yet.
Okay, we don't need to build that. Okay. But at least with community TV, people can go, and all the videos are there. And the current one, I know there was a search that worked pretty well, where I could actually stick in a search and find what I was looking. Video on demand, that's still there. Okay, yep.
Yeah, and just know that since we shut
Yeah.
town hall down and had to move out, SCTV is actually taking our YouTube feed and recompiling it and then reposting it for the channel broadcast. So it's technically the same thing, but they're just recompiling it.
Okay, great.
So Don, do you publish your changes every day as you develop? So, I mean, because we have links, so when I go to the link each day, will I see changes?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm gonna suggest is, because I like the site, I think it is intuitive. I'm gonna just send some feedback. I'll send it through Larissa. And it may be something you're aware of and you're already working on, so I'll let her be the filter. Won't bother with you with it.
Okay.
And after hearing what you said, I mean, sooner or later you do have to, what is it? Cut the fish or go bait? No, cut the bait or go fish, whatever it is.
Fish or cut bait?
Yeah, I'm good with July 6th if I know there's going to be dedicated resources there, and pretty sure a few counselors will be drilling into the site for improvements and give you feedback. So, yes, Larissa.
Just in the interest of time, because I do want all of you to go get something to eat if you need to quickly before your next round of meetings. I have a list of suggestions of how we can promote that launch on the 6th. I'll just share out to all of you if you want to send me emails with your feedback about if you like those ideas, if you don't. But as a couple of highlights, I have secured space in the leader on July 3rd. So we would have that as an opportunity to promote the new launch at that point, and thinking about how we can use SCTV, the reader boards, the television here in the town hall, make it a Facebook event. So you'll see those kind of ideas that I've brainstormed about how we can kind of do a launch and get people to know that this is happening and get them willing and wanting to go see what the new site's about. I think there's ways that we can create excitement about that.
And just food for thought, we could also wait on that too, because it could be more of a soft launch, and then like when you open a store and then you have a grand opening, so that we don't have a bunch of people hitting it, like they go there, they see it, maybe they have questions, they get back to us, hey, I can find that we learn a little more for the first couple of weeks, more like a soft launch, but.
Or a phased soft launch, right? Because you have a dedicated spot on the 3rd. You don't want to let that pass.
Well, we can certainly, I know Mike Thurlow pretty well. I bet he'd let us have August 3rd instead. So I think that we can, and we can always do something else with that. We can promote the heck out of absentee balloting, for instance, on that July 3rd. So it will be space that is well used to communicate about things. If you decide that you don't feel that we want to really promote that launch on the 6th, for great reasons that I just heard, and you want to kind of let that be a little softer, let us work with maybe some focus groups if we have time through the month of July, and then do kind of a grand opening at a later date. You can certainly hear that as feedback.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm more of a fan of a soft launch when I don't have an entire web team. But we can work either way. I would, because I know you've got to go, I would be very interested in any feedback you have on how we might change our main page. If you want to offer that up. Because I do think there's a couple different ways that we might be able to come at that and still publish publish the website in a way that emphasizes those assets and resources, but at the same time not necessarily have to hit everybody with a sledgehammer right up front.
Yep.
Well, I think it's great, and all of your efforts and your team are much appreciated. So thank you very much, and thank you for all the thorough answers. I look forward to reading them. I couldn't really read them all on the screen, but from this and the FinCom, your answers were fabulous. Much appreciated. You are an IT guy. You give the details. I love it.
I do speak those words Larissa doesn't know.
So it's true, but I know where I'm weak. So the expansive written answers have all been forwarded to you all. So you have those waiting for you in your drive.
Yeah, they're great both times. Thank you so much.
Right, Don, yeah, thanks a lot for your time.
All right, feel free to reach out anytime before the launch. And if you have any concerns or questions, I'm open anytime, okay?
Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Brian, too.
Exciting. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Brian.
right, thanks.
Thank you.
So having said that, and since I gotta go eat now, we have other meetings to join, I'm gonna suggest that we do, oh, my line item's gone. I think it's time to adjourn. Do I hear a,
Wait, can I ask a quick question?
I'm sorry, I thought you were scratching your head.
Well, I am, but are we supposed to be on at 5:30 or?
No, ANC is meeting for a abbreviated agenda, and then you are all expected to be on no later than 6 o'clock for that executive session.
Great, thank you.
Right,
Thanks.
okay.
So, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Councilor Pucci,
Yes.
Councilor Geisting,
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
See you in a
Meeting
few.
adjourned at 5:22.
All right, thank you so much.
you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.